One.
All right, here we are, back again. QR code. I'm Razor,
I'm Q.
and we're back. It's Bears Week. Bears Week, folks. But after a long, long wait, we finally get to play another division game. I think it was the Lions, the last division game we played, right? We played the Packers once and the Lions once. And then we played basically anybody that wanted to get beaten up by us. Well, not really beaten up, but beaten. A couple of teams beat us. But here we are, Bears Week. Gotta throw it to you
Mm.
first.
All right, so this is what I'm looking at. So I remember back in the day when you were the bull when you're in sports, you're the bully on the block, and there's this one team, and the one team's not that great. But if you ask them, who's your rival? Oh, and all the Bears are going to go, oh, the Vikings, the Vikings, the Vikings, and we ain't got the Bears on our mind. So but it's sure going to be actually, we can't afford to let this be a trap because all of our all of our divisional games got backloaded into the last 7 games of the season.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
because we have 6, we've only played 2.
Play two.
Yeah, that's right. We're 1-1. We got beat by the Lions and we beat the Packers.
Hmm.
So we can't be messing around and letting the Bears beat us. But I don't see anything because they're in upheaval again. Yet again. I had sent you something with just an explanation of what they're always changing GMs and coaches, and so why their quarterbacks from Trubisky to Fields to now, Caleb Williams. It's just a mess over there, and it's not ever going to get better because, well, first, they're not waiting to see if anything takes, but the other part is, you know, actually there's nothing that anyone's going to do for it because if you have an offensive game plan, if you say, well, this is my offensive philosophy, it's only going to work if you have the quarterback that works for you.
Hmm.
And
Right.
but the good news is Caleb Williams can throw from the pocket. Caleb Williams is not, while he has amazing legs, he has amazing speed, he could do all kinds of great stuff. His propensity, he doesn't have the propensity to just run around back there. So I think a new coach would be out of his mind to say, let's give up on this guy right now. He's in his rookie deal.
Well,
Good.
he's
So he'd be good to
he's the
have.
number one pick overall, so I think the first requirement for anybody, and I don't think Eberflus is going to finish. Well, he may finish the season, but he's not the Bears coach next year. But I think that Bears ownership, Bears GM, Ryan Poles would be insane to think that whomever the new coach is has to work with Caleb Williams. That's a given. Caleb Williams is here. This is the first year of the number one overall pick. You're not moving on from here.
Yeah, but how many? So then, in that instance, then expect that we're probably going to get a young coach that has nothing to lose with taking on a young talent like Caleb Williams, because an established veteran's going to go, if I'm going down swinging it, it's going to be with my guy at quarterback. And you know, Sean Payton did it in Denver, even at the expense of having the Broncos choke on like $90 million uh, for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but Russell Wilson wasn't the first pick overall
No, he
in
wasn't.
the
No,
previous
he
draft.
wasn't.
Well,
But
this is
no,
a
but you
completely
understand
different
what I'm
set of
saying?
circumstances. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
People still want their guy
But
because
your guy, the guy is already there. The guy is the first picker, and they gave up a lot to get this guy. So to say we're going to go out and get somebody, and we hope he can work with Caleb Williams, that can't be the approach.
yeah,
It
but
cannot be.
and again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just giving you just another point of view
Okay.
because remember, we have one of those guys, number one overall pick, went to two organizations. It wasn't until his third organization, and even then, he was there just kind of mopping up until a quarterback got healthy, until Brock Purdy got healthy. but Sam Darnold was that guy. I mean, the Jets were a hot mess, and
Or
people were like, "Nah, I don't want to
yeah,
keep him." And Zach Wilson, same thing. He's
those
a
were the days when the Jets were a hot mess. Yeah, remember
yeah,
back then?
those were the days. Now you're being funny.
Those were the days that end in Y. Okay, yeah.
Yesterday,
We'll get to that in a little bit. We will get to that in a little bit. Okay. Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly. Yeah, but
All right.
Ryan Poles, to my knowledge, and he was a semifinalist. There were only two guys, Ryan Poles and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, were the two finalists for a GM job and in Minnesota. And Ryan Poles basically told the Wolves his plan was to tear it down and start from scratch. And the Wolves said, thanks, but no thanks, and have a nice day. And he went on to Chicago, and that's what he did. I think that's one of the rare situations, I'm going to say rare, where the quarterback is already there. It's kind of like it's the anti-Daniel Jones thing, where the quarterback is already there. The franchise is going to be built around his quarterback. So we're bringing in a coach who can work with this quarterback. We're not going to bring in a coach who's going to say, "I can't work with Caleb Williams. I need my guy." That's if they do that, they set themselves back another 5 years. I mean, I'd love to see that happen. As a Vikings fan, I would love to see that happen. But I can't imagine a scenario where it occurs.
Hmm. Well, we'll see.
But even
But and
Sam
like I
Darnold,
said, it's
even Sam
you know
Darnold, just real quick thing though, with Sam Darnold, because you just mentioned it, Sam Darnold was not the first pick overall. He was first. He was in the first round, but he was the third pick. He wasn't the first pick overall like Caleb Williams is. And I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who was the first pick overall who lost the head coach and got benched the following year or the year after. Can you?
not one.
Okay. Yeah.
But
That's not.
now it's starting to be a trend. But I mean, just remember, I think Tom Brady and had Tom Brady, Terry Bradshaw, and they're kind of good. They were kind of good in their they were kind
Mm,
of good as
yeah.
quarterbacks, but
Yeah. Just.
they keep talking about how
Mm,
really terrible it is that they're drafting these guys and you don't have a plan for them. Throw them right on the field, and they and yeah, it is okay to let them go out there and take their lumps. It's okay to let them do that. But
mm,
then if they take their lumps and they're not, and they don't have you, you know, 10-1 at the end of 11 games, you can't get mad about that because you committed to that. And that's why I'm so super grateful that Kevin O'Connell said, "Hey, JJ, whether you're healthy or not, you're you're not going to play. You're not going to take one snap at quarterback. So enjoy, learn the game, right?
yeah. If
It's
there is
it's okay."
yeah, if there is a bright side to JJ's injury, is the fact that when Sam Darnold struggled those past few games, the fans would have been chanting for JJ McCarthy. There may have been some pressure to get him on the field. There may have been, some clamoring to see him. And if he's not ready, I don't want him on the. I don't want him on the field if he's not ready. There's no reason. There is no reason. This is not. Again, I know a lot of Vikings fans don't want to hear this, but this is not a Super Bowl year for this team. This is not a Super Bowl team. This is a rebuild. Let's enjoy the ride. We don't need to damage or possibly further injure JJ McCarthy so we can win some meaningless games that aren't gonna help us down the road.
Now I got to say this too, though. We get lucky, and I'm saying now the plan isn't. Oh yeah, we're gonna come right out of the gate and we're gonna win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean it could well happen with the way that way cards fall and the way things. And this is a very unlikely season because, well, like I said, like you said last week, Vegas, we you and I
Six and a
both
half.
would have been we got that 6.5, man. And I went out. I'm out of my mind. I said 12,
And I said eight, and
but
we're at eight right now.
yeah. So we're good. So we're good.
Mhm.
So anything that they do is gravy. So I'm enjoying. I'm you know I'm I have your mindset now. I want to be entertained, and we're still steady laying the groundwork for this great culture that we're looking to build. And from a rookie, we see that we have a guy, and he's patient. Although I think, like I said, I think he is fighting to get himself back to sit on the pine, but
Mhm.
but it's going to be. I think it's going to be okay. And I see a good young quarterback, and hold on, I see a good young quarterback in our future. I see just all kinds of other amazing things happen. Our defense is just going to get better.
It has
Um,
to. Yeah.
and
It's a scary that a good defense that we have could get better, will get better. Our secondary needs to be
and some
replaced.
of those pieces
Needs to be replaced.
didn't flourish in at other teams. They're working well in Brian Flores' defensive scheme.
Hmm.
And when you get the starters, oh my gosh, who's our corner, the one that blew his knee out? I mean, we lost one guy that they were loving the way he was looking at camp, killed in an accident, killed in an auto accident,
Hmm.
and then we have another guy blows his knee out. So now we have guys that were probably slated to be second, third team guys. They may have even been slated not even to be on the roster. And
Next
hey,
man up.
congratulations, you're the next man. You just happen to be the next man up. And I'm gonna say it. And the word is adequate. And you might not say, "Oh, we don't want adequate," but yeah, we do. We'll deal with adequate now because
This
all we wanted was something good to hang on to and something entertaining they'll hang on to
this is a
until we
rebuild year.
start making our move next year.
Exactly. This is a rebuild year. There's no, like it or not, and an NFC championship team, a, a team that goes to the NFC championship game, and which will most likely be the Lions, will torch our secondary. Goff would have his way with our secondary. Our our front four, front five, front six, front eight, depending on what Brian Flores wants to do,
Dude, they've
dangerous. Our
in the
secondary
last
needs work. They're
in the last
old
what
and they're good. Hmm?
in the last 5 weeks they've scored like 200 points. That's about right, right?
Who, the
Yeah,
Lions?
5 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they've scored like 200 points,
They score it
and
well.
all of them without. And defensively, they're not giving up any points either without Aiden Hutchinson.
Exactly. They
So
haven't missed a beat. They have not missed a beat. So yeah,
this
you know what? Reality and perception are two different things sometimes, but the perception is the Vikings defense is, and it's a good defense. It's a top 10 defense. However, we have a glaring weakness, and a great team, a good team, will exploit that weakness, and there's not much we can do to prevent that. That just It's just a fact. It's just a fact. It's kind of like if you decide to put a linebacker on Justin Jefferson, he's going to get beaten. He's going to get beaten. That's a given. I don't care who the linebacker is. He's going to get beaten. That's a fact. So nobody puts a linebacker on Justin Jefferson. If we decide to run our secondary out there against the Lions, it's not going to go well. And there are people who say, well, the Lions, we played them close. Yes, we did. We played the Lions very close in US Bank Stadium. We did. And as a matter of fact, I think we were one first down. If you go, that you can flip it so that if we get a first down, I think in the third quarter or fourth quarter, we win that game. But ifs and buts, candy and nuts. The Lions have gotten better since we played them, and we've pretty much held sway. I mean, I think it's
yeah,
safe to say we're not as good as we were the first 5 games on offense or defense, but we're good enough to win. We're probably going to win 3 or 4 more games, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm just banking on four. If we go
Uh,
500 the last 8 games, man, or no, 7 games left.
mhm. Yeah, we can't go 500 unless we tie.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, either way, either way, we've got a lot of divisional games coming up. We don't know when the Lions game is going to be, or it's a TBD right now, and if it even matters. But as I said, I don't think Dan Campbell, if he's playing the Vikings, I don't think he's resting anybody for the entire game. They may rest the second half, after they were up like 30, but I
He's
can't
not.
imagine a
He's not.
scenario.
We talked about this too the other day, and I can't see I can't see a scenario where they don't play. I do see one where they play the first half,
Mhm.
and depending on whether or not they're up or down, they start like peeling people out piecemeal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Dan Campbell's gonna like we're gonna play
Yeah.
because when you rest people and you end up with a bye, that almost always hurts more than it helps.
It's too
I,
much
I
time
just
off.
can't.
It's too much
Yeah.
time not to play football. It really is. So, given that, gonna go on. What else is going on in the NFL? One thing that I was, I guess, a little schadenfreude. Being a New Yorker, I kind of revel in the fact that I didn't select one of the two New York teams as my favorite team when I was growing up. I took on the Minnesota Vikings growing up in New York City. I could add the Jets or the Giants or on a stretch the Buffalo Bills, but I didn't. And watching the fact that the Giants have now decided that Daniel Jones is their fourth string quarterback because if he gets injured, they have to pay that, what, $25 million? So they are not putting him on the field. They're going to cut him at the end of the year. They're not putting him on the field. They're going to bubble wrap him and have two guys walk around next to him between now and the end of the year to make sure he doesn't trip and fall. Okay, Daniel Jones has got to remain 100% healthy. And I'm
I just
loving
can't.
this. I'm
I just
loving
can't
this.
imagine who would end up signing this guy.
Nobody will. Nobody will. He won't play in the NFL anymore. I mean,
I just,
no head coach has the ego to think I can rebuild him. I can make why. And for that money, why would you bother? Why would you bother? It's not worth. If he would come in like a Sam Darnold type contract, but $10 million per year, fine. But Daniel Jones, no, not at that contract. And
but
I'm
he's
loving that.
awful,
Yeah,
and he's awful, and they know.
yeah, I know.
Like
Well,
everyone knows he's bad. I mean, he's not a good quarterback.
he was always awful. We made him look good because he played up against Ed Donatel's defense in a playoff game, and somebody said, "Hey, he's a real
Yeah.
quarterback." Again, I love that. And then the other side of the field in this locker room, the other locker rooms in the same building, you had the New York Jets, who
Oh, don't
consistently
say it.
just
Don't
jet
say
it up.
it.
They just jet it
Don't
up.
say it.
They just jet it up.
Don't say it.
They just jet it up. They just jet it
Uh,
up. And I said at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to repeat, the New York Jets will find a way to do the dumbest things they could possibly do. And they fired the head coach. And I guess that wasn't enough because they ended up losing the game again. So they decided to fire the GM because the GM clearly couldn't do his job because he's letting a washed up quarterback make personnel decisions for him. He's letting a washed up quarterback dictate who to bring on as a
so
coach,
he
coordinator,
deserves every
assistant.
little thing he got with that. I got to.
He
I'm just gonna
does.
throw that out there.
He does. And I have to say this because I was thinking about this with all the hype about Aaron Rodgers and all the hoopla. I mean, he's not Pat Mahomes, he's not Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers has won one Super Bowl. I was tempted not to do this, but I'm going to do it because I have to. I,
Let's hear it.
uh, now,
Ooh,
you see that?
we're screen sharing. It's
What,
coming.
what, can you see that?
Ah,
It says
yeah.
when Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl in February of 2011. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
Mm.
That's how long ago that was. That was a very long time. When Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl, Grenade by Bruno Mars was the number one song. It was the number one song on the Billboard charts.
I was in
Remember
my
that song?
40s when
Yeah,
that.
remember that? Exactly. Remember that song?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. Osama bin Laden could have been watching the game because he was alive. He was still alive. Osama bin Laden died in May of that year. The game was played in February. That's how long ago that
Wow.
was. There
Let's
was a new
go.
there was a new device called the iPhone 4. It wasn't just something you put under a wobbly table leg. The iPhone 4 had just come out. 4. What are they up to now? 12, I think. I'm not an
No,
iPhone guy, so
16, I think.
16.
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. The Jets were coached by Rex Ryan. They've had 4 coaches since then, no playoff appearances, and only one winning season. Only one winning season since 2011. And that was 10-6. And finally, believe it or not, J.J. McCarthy was still 5 years away from being old enough to ride in the front seat of a car. Okay. He was 8 years old. The last time Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, J.J. McCarthy was 5 years too young to sit in the front seat of a car. This is who the New York Jets have pinned their hopes on. A guy who has done nothing in over a decade, almost a decade and a half. They're not just pinning their hopes. They're letting this guy dictate roster moves, coaching moves. They deserve whatever they get.
And they could have just said, "Hey, man, that was nice and all." Like when he blew out his Achilles last year, yeah, that was pretty nice and all. But you know what? We're all set. We'll let you go. And they could have drafted They could have drafted somebody.
Yes, they could have.
They could have done better than. They could have drafted someone in the second round, even.
They could have drafted Michael Penix.
Just saying.
Michael Penix. Somebody did. Somebody did. Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it, man.
Spencer Rattler.
And while he may have been a reach, he's played well at spots with the Saints.
I have to ask because you just said that, and I've heard other people say he would have been a reach. What's more of a reach, Spencer Rattler, the Jets drafting Spencer Rattler, or just rolling the dice with Aaron Rodgers?
Thinking,
yeah. Aaron Rodgers got them what? Two victories? What's his contract? How much is his contract? Is it a rookie scale? No? Okay, just checking.
Dude, he's $140 million or something. I'm like, what? No.
Is he rookie scale? No. Okay.
Nope.
If he again, as you and I often like to posit, put it in real terms, the two of us have only won 2 fewer games at quarterback with the Jets than Aaron Rodgers has. He's only won 2 games more than we have. We don't even play.
God.
We don't even play.
My God.
We don't. There's a problem. There's a problem. So, like I said, being a New Yorker that decided I'm going to go with Minnesota as my team, every single week that I open up the sports section and I start reading, I think to myself, "Yep, good move, good move." The Giants have Super Bowls. The Jets have Super Bowls. They have one in 1969. Not one since. They've had one winning season in the last 13 years.
That's awful.
And I'm listening to Vikings fans complaining about eating too.
But but I want to revisit the Giants one more time because there's another thing that we had talked about also, and that was you remember when they showed film of that conversation with Mara and their GM talking about letting Saquon go.
Mm-hmm.
And now we see how Jerry Jones runs the Cowboys. He's the owner. This guy, and Mara wanted to Mara did not want Saquon Barkley to go away.
No.
But he let his guy make the decision. Now, the other good news is I get rid of this guy. I get rid of this guy. I said, dude, I can't believe you got rid of Saquon, man. You're fired.
Mm-hmm.
But that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Brian Daboll, man. He's gonna, because he's taking the brunt of the punishment for this.
The
And I mean, they could have just started Tommy DeVito already too, because
they will now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, so you let your guy walk, and he goes to your division rival that is also 8-2 now, and guys like spinning around and jumping over people backwards. He's an honest to God candidate for MVP, which no one ever messes with running backs when it comes to MVP.
He won't be MVP,
he's at least in the discussion. You can
True.
you can make all the arguments for him not getting it, but he's in that discussion.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking Viking fans ought to shut up when it comes to this, because so far they second guess Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah from the beginning, and he's done everything but not disappoint me. We went to Las Vegas. You and I went to Las Vegas to watch that draft, and we watched him miss people. He missed players that he really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He got players that worked. Was that the year they drafted Addison?
No, that was his first draft. That was the draft that he walked in. I believe it was, and
But
my
his
math may
first
be off.
draft wasn't. But his
His
first
first,
draft wasn't his.
yeah, no, his first. That's the one we went to when he traded down and took Lewis Seen. That was his first draft when he walked in, and my math may be a little off, but it's not off by a lot. I believe he was in that job 36 days. 36 days he was a general manager, and he had to hire a head coach and deal with the draft. And anybody, again, it's ridiculous to have to keep saying this, but anybody who doesn't understand how time works and thinks that a man can interview for a job, come in, take that job. He wasn't working for the Vikings. Take that job, hire a head coach, and then know all of the staff that's doing the draft work. Kwesi
Because
Adolfo had no
if you have
idea.
horrible scouts, you're going to have a
Thank you.
horrible team.
Thank you.
That's
Kwesi Adolfo knew none of those people. Those people were all people from the last regime. So anybody who says, "Oh, maybe it was Kwesi's idea to trade down to 32. Maybe it was Kwesi's idea to take Lewis Seen, or maybe it was Ed Donatel who thought Lewis Seen could work in my system. Andrew Booth Jr. could work in my system. As a matter of fact, every year I get the Minnesota Vikings team calendar that the NFL puts out this month. Um, Andrew Booth Jr. is the poster boy. Um,
He's not on the
famously,
team.
yeah, famously, for some reason, whoever turns up on the calendar in the month either is no longer on the team or gets injured that month. Kirk Cousins was last October.
Oh.
So, I believe last year we also featured let's see. Oh, I think Madison's on this year. It's like the NFL needs to like really put
And I would
the
have
Justin
never
Jefferson
put
on every.
I would have never put Alexander Madison in a because he couldn't. Oh my
Dalvin
God.
Dalvin Cook was last October, I believe. He wasn't even on the team. He wasn't even on the team. So,
Just
but
crazy, man.
anybody who thought Andrew Booth Jr. and Lewis Seen were bad draft picks don't think the process through. First of all, it wasn't Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. He's not a football guy that walked in and says, "These are my guys," and I scouted them. That 36 days on the job. He took the notes from the previous administration. Our previous defensive coordinator, Ed Donatel, played a completely different defense from what Brian Flores played. So when Brian Flores came in, he said, "These guys can't play for me." And everybody said, "Ah, crazy, we wasted the draft pick." No, Crazy didn't know Brian Flores was going to be the defensive coordinator when he drafted them. And I
Right.
didn't know, you didn't know, and nobody
Nope.
knew.
Nope.
So,
So, but we got what we got, and I think that the other crazy thing that can happen is, these kids in these secondaries, then the secondary starts gelling a little bit. Now, giving up a 98-yard touchdown to Will Levis, that kind of sucked a little bit. But
that's one.
but
That's
eh,
again. It's not like he was throwing bombs down the field. It's like you were trying to get to safety. You're overzealous. Everybody knew they were trying to get to safety. That's what they wanted, and you got burned. It's like the
mhm,
Minneapolis Miracle. Yeah, it happened once. I wouldn't bet on it happening again.
right, right. So
It was a lucky catch, and a bad tackle.
yeah, and the Vikings are making too much noise for the Titans anyway.
Oh yeah, that's that. Mhm. So I mean,
Was
it's
that a
just
real thing, or is that fake news?
I don't know. I didn't. Like I said, honestly, coach speak in the NFL. I don't tune into it because they're not allowed to say what they're really thinking. Like, for example, you're not allowed to say the referee blew that call. That should be face mask. And then they say nonsense. It's like, well, we all got out there and it's a hard game and we played. No coach ever says, I see this week we're going to play the Carolina Panthers and they suck. So I don't even think we're going to go to drills or practice this week. We're gonna take it easy and just show up on Saturday
Yeah,
at the hotel.
we
Nobody
have
ever
a
says
second bye week.
exactly the second part. The Panthers! Oh, thank God. Not even shelved. Not even shelved. We're gonna have guys running around in short. It's going to be the underwear Olympics this week. It's like we're just going to try to get it out of there without getting anybody hurt. Nobody says that. So coach speak. People complain about stupid nonsense. There are some coaches like Nick Sirianni that you know they are always going to find something to whine about. But the bottom line is the W's and the L's, the
Yeah,
W's and the
yeah,
L's.
yeah.
And if you don't get
And
W's and
that's
L's,
what separates the wheat from the chaff when it comes to like real fans, and then fans that just that understand stuff. It's okay. It's okay to say, "Well, I wish we'd do something a little different." Well, first of all, I'm enjoying the ride because as I'm standing, I'm living on. We already got 2 games of borrowed time,
yep,
guys. Hey, we're 2 games over. We're 2 games over the 6,
yep,
or we're a game and a half over the six
over
and a
six and a
half.
half.
That
Yeah,
was
yep.
so we're so I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, this is good. Yeah.
I I want to
But,
find a sober, realistic Vikings fan who would have done what I did, what you did in September, and put it on record that the Minnesota Vikings would have 8 wins by the middle of November. I want to find one. I haven't yet. I haven't yet. I've found people
because
complaining about the
people were
fact that we
content
only
to
have eight.
people were content to complain. Oh, but you let Kirk Cousins go and you did that. Now look at Kirk. And by the way, look at Kirk Cousins. He is
six,
what
6-5.
to quote
Six
our
and five.
to quote our dearly departed Dennis Green. He is who we
Who he
said he
thought
was.
he was. Here's who he thought he was.
Oh, he is
He's
who
a
we thought he was. He's a
he's a
fraud.
500. He's a
And
500 quarterback. He's a 500 quarterback. He's 6-5 now. That's one game over 500, and we haven't played the whole season. And in 17 game season, you can't go 500. Kirk
so with
Cousins
the
is six
exception of
and five.
13-3, this guy is a 500 quarterback, and
Yes,
through 2 teams, and now actually through three teams,
three teams. Mm-hmm.
one playoff win,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, and he's not a team guy. Everyone starts saying, "Oh, he was great for our team." No, because if he was, he would have been happy to see a good. I don't want a serviceable backup, but hell, we didn't have one of those.
No,
No offense to Sean Mannion, but let's say it,
yeah,
Randy,
no,
say it,
really,
say it.
seriously. Sean Mannion, one career touchdown pass. I mean, come on, one more than we have. Stop.
One
Sean
more than
Mannion,
I have.
yes, Sean Mannion was never an NFL quarterback. And for us not to have a backup quarterback for all those years was a crime. He has a
He'll
backup
probably
quarterback
be
now.
he'll probably be a great coach though, because
I don't think he will. He's too old now. They just in
he
Atlanta, he has a backup. He has a backup in Atlanta apparently, and we'll see how that goes. But
well, the backup's going to be his backup is his replacement.
yes,
But what I'm really happy about for the Falcons, and again, I really don't have a dog in the race. I just want to make sure that you know anybody that was crying about whether or not it was a bad idea to let Cousins go. Well, look at him now. But the Falcons aren't stuck
no,
because they got a guy. And I was chatting with someone the other day talking about this, and I said, it's not just the matter of do they have film on Michael Penix because he did go in that Broncos game,
mhm,
but the other thing is it's not just we ain't got no film on him. It's going to be tough to kind of scheme or do whatever. But the scariest thing about Michael Penix is he's got a big arm and he's left-handed.
yep,
And he's a little older too, so he's not an erratic 20-year-old to do this. So if you give him 2 years on the bench, give Cousins another year if they want. But that's going to be, but just know that it's going to be another year of 500 football. But I think that Michael Penix can do two things. One, be completely all right with his health because he's had a little injury history. But the other thing is he can see all the things not to do when he's running, like throwing a check down pass on 4th and long
I
with
don't.
with
Yeah.
season on the line.
I don't. I don't. Well, he did it. He did it again a couple of weeks
He
ago.
did it with the
I.
Rams. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
not the Rams. He did it with the Falcons. It's
Yeah.
just
I don't. I
because
don't. I don't.
Old habits don't die hard,
Well, I think
or
that
they do die
they
hard.
they did. They die hard. Yeah. I don't think that the Falcons. Honestly, I don't think they can sit Penix for another year and ride it out with Kirk because that window of possibility in that division is going to close up pretty soon. I mean, you've got the Saints who literally they're looking to book tea times now. I mean, you've got let's see, and that they've got the Carolina Panthers who they wouldn't even let them on the top golf course, let alone on book tea times. Let's see, who else is in that division? You've got you've got the Falcons, you've got the Saints, you've got
Buck,
um, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are a legitimate threat. I don't think the Falcons can sit around for another year and lose more ground to Tampa Bay. I honestly don't. I mean, Baker Mayfield can play. So it's kind of like us with the Lions. We didn't see this coming. Well, we should have because the Lions have been rebuilding successfully for 2 or 3 years now. But the Bears aren't a threat. The Packers thought they would be because they've had 25 years of NFL, Hall of Fame quarterback play. But
couple years ago,
who's that Lions coming? Who's that Lions skipped the
I
line?
did, I
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
I did. I
yeah.
told you, at at the end of the season 2 years ago, I said, man, these guys are going to be scary.
I
And then
said,
last year they broke out, and this year they're killing it.
I told you
But I said
I
I
was at
saw
that game. I was
I
too.
saw what do you go? I saw the Jaguars when they looked like they were going to turn a corner, and then all of a sudden they melted down again. But they had an amazing season, and then fizzed out. But you were talking about these windows that open up, and you just hey, you can't we can't afford to let these moments go by with like weak quarterbacks that don't um weak quarterbacks that don't look downfield, don't think, oh yeah, we're gonna, we're going for it, we're getting vertical, now you get versus, oh well, I didn't call the plays, so, and like that is the weakest crap that I think I've ever seen.
Hmm.
And I know once JJ McCarthy ends up, because he's a Harbaugh guy. First of all, he's a Harbaugh guy. He's a Jim Harbaugh dude, and so we know he's got enough grit. There were some things that they wanted to work on with him, his footwork and some other stuff. Just like with Darnold, the biggest thing with Darnold was we want to make sure, hey, we know you have it in you to make good decisions, good reads and things like that. But you weren't, because you wanted to be the hero and do this. And then he went back to that a couple of weeks ago against the Jags. He just, I'm going to
Yep.
find Justin Jefferson for golly gee's sake. How'd that work out? They pulled out a win, but no, we can't we can't be fooling around. But you talked about the windows, and our windows coming up, but we've got to play well in a lot of other parts. Like the secondary's got to get a little better, or they've got to play better once McCarthy moves into that starting lineup. But they got to do Sam Darnold favors, because, like I said, he's auditioning for a job with the Rams or the Seahawks or somebody
Yeah,
else.
Yeah, he won't be our backup next year, that's for sure. The
He will not.
one of the things about the window, and I'm gonna make this brief because we're gonna have to wrap up pretty soon. But one of the things about the window is that the windows open and close, especially in our division. They're more like revolving doors and less like windows because there seems to be always somebody. Nobody stays on top of this division very long. You have the Packers, they're great, and then the Bears, and then well, way back when, and then the Lions are now coming up. They're finally getting their turn. They've been waiting on line for a long time. Tampa Bay at one point, they popped their heads up when they were in our division. This division is reactionary. When we drafted Randy Moss and the Lions were drafting wide receivers for no reason in their first pick, they realized we're never going to be able to win this unless we take secondary. We have to take defensive players. And the Vikings said, okay, we have to keep pace with the Bears. We have to keep pace with the Packers. And what's that? Oh, the Lions have Megatron. Well, how are we going to stop him? Oh, so now we have to draft secondary. We have to draft defense. Oh, the Lions have a quarterback now, Jared Goff. So now we have to play faster. This is the way this division goes, which is great. So now in this upcoming draft, I know there's talk about possibly we only have I think 4 picks. Oh, there's talk about us picking a running back, blah blah blah. We will be if we don't do it in the draft, we'll be doing it in free agency. We'll be doing it in undrafted free agents, but we will be going after secondary, speedy secondary guys, ball hawks, guys who can play defense. Because if you can't, Jared Goff will pick you apart.
And by
And
the way, do we have Harrison Smith's replacement?
And well, that he's one of the two people that we have to. Well, Harrison Smith again. This is probably his last season. He's going to ride into the sunset. Ring of Honor player. Thank you for your service. Phenomenal player. Great. But Shaq Griffin's not going to be here next year. Um, let's see. Well, in our secondary, Cam Bynum, I think, is the only guy in our secondary who's going to be on this team next year, unless I'm missing somebody,
Yeah.
because everybody else is old or leased, borrowed, bought, and it's great if you can put pressure up front. But if that ball sails over the front line, who's going to be back there? Who's going to be back
Hmm.
there to stop it?
Hmm.
Anyway, well, anyway, that being said, segue. We're going to move on to sailing down the field to against the Bears, and we're going to get your prediction for this upcoming week.
All right. Well, it's going to be, even though it's on the road, it's the end of this brutal road trip. Vikings are starting to right the ship a little bit. I'm expecting that they're going to win it 31-6.
Oh, so you think it's going to be a blowout? Okay.
It's going to be a blowout.
Okay. I think last week I believe I was off by I think I said 26 to 16 or something like that. I was only up by a few points. Um, and this week I'm going to say that our defense does get after Caleb Williams, but it's Chicago. I've been in that building. Crazy things happen. It's a tough place to play. I think we're going to get the win. But I think this is one of those nail biters where we're going to get the win 21-17. Or you know what? I'm going to change that. I'm going to say 21-20. I'm going to say 21-20.
Mm.
I think we may win
Nail
this in the
biter.
fourth quarter. Yeah, I think we're going to win this in the fourth quarter because the winds, the fans, the road gets tiring. I said I no disrespect to the Minnesota Vikings, I bleed purple. Soldier Field and Lambeau Field, I've been in those buildings. I've been to a lot of games there. Love them, love the fans, love the crowd, love the atmosphere. I've sat in the middle, the thick of a bunch of rabid Bears fans in Soldier Field. They're very welcoming. They're very inviting. They're a lot of fun. Win or lose, they're respectful. Um, they're not as loud as we are in Minnesota, but they can be disruptive to an opposing quarterback. And the Bears have maybe they're checked out. They haven't. The team never quits, of course, but they have a realistic view of where they are. But the fans the Bears. The fans are like they think Dick is going to show up and run out to the 50-yard line, rip his shirt off, and I don't
Ah,
think that
Eberflus is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Eberflus is the reality, man.
Yeah, the
That's what
reality
you got.
exactly. The reality is Eberflus, who probably will get run out of there at the end of the season. But um, the Bears fans are still holding on hope. So I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think it has to be a blowout. I think this game just got to be a W and we come home healthy. That's what I want.
Yep.
Take the W, come home healthy. So
And yeah.
that's my prediction for that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good one. We'll take it.
So and we'll see. So with that in the books, any closing thoughts before we wrap this episode?
No, I'm good. I'm excited because we got Thanksgiving coming up. The Cowboys are even more horrible than they were last week. So what can a man ask for anything more? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Packers did not more.
the Cowboys are playing on Thanksgiving, so that'll ruin somebody's dinner. The Lions, fortunately, will be playing Thanksgiving. I will not be at that game. I've been to two of them. I won't be at that game because they're not playing the Vikings, but I'll probably watch the game because
They're playing the Bears, aren't they?
I believe so. I really, honestly, I haven't checked. So the Bears are coming off a short week. They're going to play us and then the Lions. Okay, I hope so.
Mhm.
So we'll see.
So who are the Cowboys playing?
Oh, again haven't looked
Again,
at
it
the couple
doesn't
of kids.
even. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
that doesn't matter. Yeah. I have a hard enough time with the hard enough time with our schedule. I really do. It's like this has been, like I said, it's been enjoyable. 8-2. It's more than I could have hoped for at this point. So, well, I guess that being said, that's a wrap on this week.
Ooh,
And have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Stay
hey,
safe.
happy
Don't eat too
Thanksgiving.
much. Try to avoid the traffic. Stay away from the
Don't
tryptophan.
eat too much. Don't eat too
Don't.
much.
I didn't say
Uh,
don't eat too. I didn't say don't eat too much. I didn't say
oh,
don't eat
okay.
too much. I said
Okay. All right.
that's just Thanksgiving. That's a time-honored tradition is eating too much for some people. So with that,
That's what's up.
I'm going to say Skol Vikings. I'm Razor.
Skull.
Skol,
I'm
and
cute.
we'll see you next time. Peace.